Hare Krishna, my dear devotees, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Mahaprasad, no, excuse me. All glories to Srila Prabhupada, all glories to Srimad Bhagavatam, all glories to Srimad Bhagavad Gita, all glories to all the devotees of Krishna. Hari Bol. So today, we're going to hear from chapter 2 of the Bhagavad Gita, verse number 33. And this verse says, Atachitvam imam dharmyan sangramam na karishyasi tata swadharmam kirtim cha hitvapapam avapsyasi. If, however, you do not perform your religious duty of fighting, then you will certainly incur sins for neglecting your duties and thus lose your reputation as a fighter. Purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Arjuna was a famous fighter, and he attained fame by fighting many great demigods, including even Lord Shiva. After fighting and defeating Lord Shiva in the dress of a hunter, Arjuna pleased the Lord and received as a reward a weapon called Pashupata Astra. Everyone knew that he was a great warrior. Even Dronacharya gave him benedictions and awarded him the special weapon by which he could kill even his teacher. So he was credited with so many military certificates from many authorities, including his adopted father, Indra, the heavenly king. But if he abandoned the battle, not only would he neglect his specific duty as a Kshatriya, but he would also lose all his fame and good name and thus prepare his royal road to hell. In other words, he would go to hell not by fighting, but by withdrawing from battle. Well, for one has been honored, dishonor is worse than hell. So there's no reason for a Kshatriya to be remiss in the execution of his duty. Otherwise, he'll lose all respectability, and people will not have any faith in him anymore. So, therefore, Krishna is explaining to Arjuna what will happen if he wants to, out of, let's say, false attachment to his family, not fight. Then he would be what you would call a subject of ridicule and would lose his respectability in the Vedic society. Text 34. Akirtim chapi bhutani katayisyanti te vyayam sambhavitasya chakritir maranad atirichyate. People will always speak of your infamy, and for a respectable person, dishonor is worse than death. Very famous saying, dishonor is worse than death for a respectable person. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Both as friend and philosopher to Arjuna, Lord Krishna now gives his final judgment regarding Arjuna's refusal to fight. The Lord says, Arjuna, if you leave the battlefield before the battle even begins, people will call you a coward. And you think that people may call you bad names, but that you will save your life by fleeing the battlefield, then my advice is that you do better to die in the battle. For a respectable man like you, ill fame is worse than death. So you should not flee for fear of your life. Better to die in the battle. That will save you from the ill fame of misusing my friendship and from losing your prestige in society. So the final judgment of the Lord was for Arjuna to die in the battle and not withdraw. It didn't mean he had to die. It just means that he should not be afraid of dying. But that's definitely he should not walk away from his duty as a Kshatriya to uh, to protect the principles of Dharma. Otherwise, for a respectable person, dishonor is worse than death because he would be ostracized, he would be uh, criticized, and so forth for his cowardice, and no one would respect him anymore. So, for one who has been honored, dishonor is worse than death. So now, text 35 says, Bayad Ranad Uparatam Mamsyante Tvam Maharata Yesam Cha Tvam Bahumato Utvayasyasi Laghavam. The great generals who have highly esteemed your name and fame will think that you have left the battlefield out of fear only, and thus they will consider you insignificant. Purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Lord Krishna continued to give his verdict to Arjuna. Do not think that the great generals like Duryodhana, Karna, and other contemporaries will think that you have left the battlefield out of compassion for your brothers and grandfather. They will think that you have left out of fear for your life, and thus their high estimation of your personality will go to hell. In other words, it will be destroyed, and no one will respect him again. Text 36. Avyat Shivadam Cha Bahun Vadishyanti Tavahitaha Nindantas Tava Samartam Tato Dukan Ataram Nu Kim. Your enemies will describe you in many unkind words and scorn your ability. What could be more painful for you? Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Lord Krishna was astonished at the beginning at Arjuna's uncalled for plea for compassion. And he described his compassion as befitting the non-Aryans. Now, in so many words, he has proved his statements against Arjuna's so-called compassion. Well, what's happening here is Arjuna is trying to circumvent or not do his duty by a plea of compassion for the people who are going to die in the battlefield. Now, this is very cowardly and is not befitting a Kshatriya like Arjuna. Arjuna should not, first of all, he should understand, look, the soul is eternal, so I'm not going to destroy people by killing them. Secondly, there's going to be a fair fight. I'm not fighting with, people who are not real warriors. I'm going to fight with people who are very high-class warriors, may even be better than him. So it's not an unfair fight. It's a real fight between people who have the same powers. And then thirdly, he should not be discouraged that he's going to fight against his relatives because his relatives are on the wrong side. So therefore, and they've also done something that is not good. They did not stop Draupadi from being stripped. So that means that they were not following Dharma, therefore they became uh, bereft of the protection that they would have from Krishna. Krishna is the protector of the principles of Dharma. So if someone who claims to be a follower of Krishna but doesn't follow the principles of Dharma, then they're going to be punished for pretending to be something that they're not. That's the worst thing you can do in life, to pretend to be something or someone as a false pretense and think you can get away with it. So Lord Krishna was astonished at the beginning at Arjuna's uncalled for plea for compassion. And he described his compassion as befitting the non-Aryans. And he, meaning Krishna, described Arjuna's compassion as befitting the non-Aryans. Now, who were the Aryans? Unfortunately, the Nazis adopted this word Aryan or Aryan. Aryan. So the Aryan was a super, let's say, natural race that existed in ancient times. And they followed the principles of Sanatana Dharma, and they were very, let's say, stalwart warriors. Why don't you look that up? AR.
They didn't actually mean that as a race, right? But it was more like a civilized person of the society.
We're following Vedas.
There were Aryans or people who were following the Vedas.
Yeah. Well, was that considered a race, or was it like the whole human race was anybody who was following was Aryan?
Anyone who's following.
Yeah.
Right? Not everyone would follow. Yeah. Well, once you look up Aryans. So see the Nazis borrowed that word also, made it something bad. You know.
So the term Aryans historically refers to a group of people who spoke the Indo-Iranian languages, a branch of the larger Indo-European language family. This term has been used in various contexts, often with significant cultural, historical, and political implications. In ancient historical contexts, in ancient texts such as the Rig Veda, an early Indian sacred collection of Vedic Sanskrit hymns, the term Aryan was used to describe a group of people who were noble or of a certain social status. It is believed that these Aryans migrated into the Indian subcontinent and Iran, bringing with them their language and culture. The term has also been used to refer to the ancient inhabitants of Iran, as seen in the Avesta, the sacred scriptures of Zoroastrianism.
Zoroastrianism. Yeah.
Linguistic context. In the field of linguistics, Aryan is used to refer to the group of languages that include Sanskrit, Persian, and their modern descendants. This is part of the broader Indo-European language family.
This is not exactly correct. When it says here, he describes his compassion as befitting the non-Aryans.
Yeah.
So it's not what there's. I mean, many times the definitions of these words are not completely correct.
Yeah. So Maharaj, there is another, so there are different contexts, right? So linguistic context, then we read about the ancient historical context. There is third one, which I think what you were talking about is controversial and misuse context. In the 19th and 20th centuries, the term Aryan was co-opted by racial theorists and misused in a pseudo-scientific context to promote notions of racial superiority. Most nobly,
Superiority.
superiority. Most nobly, the Nazis in Germany used the term to describe a supposed master race that they falsely claimed was superior to others. This misuse has led to significant harm and atrocities.
Right. But even see, the Aryans are ones who follow Vedic Dharma, and non-Aryans are the ones that don't follow Vedic Dharma.
Prabhupada gives in the second chapter, second verse, Maharaj,
Yeah.
there is some explanation by Prabhupada about the word Aryan. That first time I used it.
Well, let's take a look at what he said.
The word Aryan is applicable to persons who knew the value of life and have civilization based on spiritual realization.
Yeah, in other words, they're followers of Vedic Dharma.
So you will see that in the purport of 2 towards the last paragraph.
Right? It's the second chapter, second verse.
Yeah.
The word Aryan is applicable to persons who know the value of life and have a civilization based on spiritual realization. Persons who are led by the material conception of life do not know that the aim of life is realization of the absolute truth, Vishnu or Bhagavan, and they are captivated by external features of the material world. Therefore, they do not know what liberation is. Persons who have no knowledge of liberation from material bondage are called non-Aryan. So it's not a specific ethnic race.
Yeah.
There's people who know what the value of human life is to become Krishna conscious and go
Yeah,
back
it's
to
basically
God.
based on consciousness.
Yes.
But Nazis, they misused it and they said it's a master race based on.
Because they,
Well, it's a bit, but no, they emphasize the material bodily concept of it. That, you're tall, you have blonde hair, you have blue eyes, you're in a, they call it the Aryan race. Yeah.
What if it discrimination, violence, and genocide during?
You see what happens when you don't have a spiritual master. You can take a concept like Aryan race and give a completely false definition of it,
What do you
bodily conception, and and use that as an excuse to kill people. So you could say, black people are not Aryans, so we can kill them, which Nazis wanted to do. They also claimed the Jews were not Aryan. They claimed that the Gypsies were not Aryan. Only the Germans were Aryans. But once the Germans who were homosexuals or had physical deformities, they were also killed by the Nazis. Germans who had physical deformities or who were homosexuals or communists, they were also killed, just like the Jews. So what they wanted to do is so-called purify the race by eliminating people who didn't fit the physical, let's say, definition of an Aryan. It was a false definition. The real definition is the people who follow Sanatana Dharma. That's who Aryans are. Yeah. Okay. So you see how things get mixed up. And why is it? Because there's no guru. That's why. No bona fide guru. Hitler was not a bona fide guru. And Hitler's, cronies were not bona fide gurus either. So they they get a concept called like Aryan race, and they completely what they call bastardize it. They make it something that it's not, and it just causes havoc in society.
And then, also, I mean, they disappeared.
What?
The Aryan disappeared. It looks like in modern.
No, no, wait a minute.
I mean, people. How do
Aryan people are people who follow the Vedic culture. You know, no meeting, eating, no gambling, no illicit sex, so forth. All those things. You know, Krishna, be Krishna conscious.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm saying if they said something Aryans, so where those Aryans went, right? That means
They're still
they're
here.
not something special people. It's out of us who are following the
There's no
Vedic dharma.
there's no material bodily identification.
So if they are, then where are those? If those are just special people, then where are those?
No, whoever's following
Yeah.
the principles of Aryan culture is an Aryan.
Correct. Yeah.
Right? Okay. So where are we now?
2:36 we finished.
2:36. Okay. 2:37. Unless there's more discussion or question.
Yep.
Okay. So see, Arjuna has this compassion for his family members. And it just happens the family members are on both sides of the warring people. So, and Krishna says that his compassion is befitting the non-Aryans. So a non-Aryan does not follow the Vedic culture and the Vedic principles. And so Arjuna, by refusing to fight due to his so-called compassion for his family members, in other words, it's not compassion for his family, it's attachment to his family members. So because of that, he is not protecting the principles of Dharma. He's acting against the Dharma, and therefore it's non-Aryan. Okay. Text 37. Hatova papsyasi swargam jitvava boksyase mahim. Tasmat utista konteya yudhaya kritanishchaya. O son of Kunti, either you will be killed on the battlefield and attain the heavenly planets, or you will conquer and enjoy the earthly kingdom. Therefore, get up with determination and fight. So he's going to be a winner both ways. Right? Purport. Even though there was no certainty of victory for Arjuna's side, he still had to fight. For even being killed there, he could be elevated into the heavenly planets. So this is a win-win situation. Whether he conquers or whether he's killed. Both ways, he's a winner. You can't lose. Of course, it had to be explained to Arjuna so he could understand that. He was thinking, better I just walk away from this whole thing and I'll just be a mendicant the rest of my life, living off charity of others and living in disgrace. No, it's better to either be victorious on the battlefield or die on the battlefield. In both ways, it's glorious. Okay, text 38. Sukha dukkhe same kritva labo jaya jayo. Tato yudhaya yujasva naivam papam avapsyase. This is a famous verse. Do thou fight for the sake of fighting, without considering happiness and distress, loss or gain, victory or defeat. And by so doing, you shall never incur sin. Very nice verse.
This is probably the first time he's giving the instruction not to think about the results.
Right.
Because still now he's articulated about, hey, you are going to benefit whether you get killed or not.
Yeah, well, my Latin teacher used to say, when in doubt, do the right thing. basically saying the same thing here. He said, look, just do the right thing. Okay. And do thou fight for the sake of fighting without considering happiness and distress, loss or gain, victory or defeat. And by so doing, you shall never incur sin. Purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Lord Krishna now directly says that Arjuna should fight for the sake of fighting because he desires the battle. Not that Arjuna desires it, but Krishna desires it. There is no consideration of happiness or distress, profit or gain, victory or defeat in the activities of Krishna consciousness. That everything should be performed for the sake of Krishna is transcendental consciousness. So there is no reaction to material activity. He who acts for his own sense gratification, either in goodness or in passion, is subject to the reaction, good or bad. But he who has completely surrendered himself in the activities of Krishna consciousness is no longer obliged to anyone, nor is he a debtor to anyone, as one is in the ordinary course of activities. It is said, Devarasi bhuta pranirnam pitranam nakinkaro nayam rini charajan sarvatmanaya saranam saranyam gato mukundam parihrityakartam. Anyone who has completely surrendered unto Krishna, Mukunda, giving up all other duties, is no longer a debtor, nor is he obliged to anyone, not the demigods, nor the sages, nor the people in general, nor kinsmen, nor humanity, nor forefathers. Bhagavad Gita 11.5.41, Srimad Bhagavatam 11.5.41. That is the indirect hint given by Krishna to Arjuna in this verse. And the matter will be more clearly explained in the following verses. So this is a very famous verse, this Devasi Bhutatmanam Pitranam. And this is what we have to learn in Krishna consciousness. So if we keep a bodily conception of life while being a devotee, then we will be bereft of spiritual knowledge. But if we give up the bodily concept of life, like this is my family, this is my race, this is my country, this is my this is my that, and identifying with the body, then you can become a transcendental devotee. So this bodily identification is a disease. And because of it, it hinders someone from becoming fully Krishna conscious. In other words, you have to give up entirely the bodily identification to become a genuine devotee. If you don't, then you'll make a lot of mistakes by identifying falsely with the body.
Come on, I have a question.
Yeah.
Yeah, I understood that we always say that we should not be on the bodily file, but there is always from like generation by generation, there is always like mine or me, the existence. Like for example, you talk about okay, this is my country or my that gives a sense of something belongingness because even Pandava's case, right? They wanted to have as a Kshatriya. They wanted in Pandava's case also.
They wanted this.
Even the Kshatriya, they want at least 5 towns or 5 villages or whatever for them, right? To rule because they were Kshatriya.
Yeah.
So even that time also there was always some region and because Yudhishthira Maharaj or something, right? But there were other kings also who has their own countries and regions. So that concept never goes away. People always identify with their own stuff, right? So we can call it as macro level is my house, but then at the broader level, maybe my area, my town, my thing. So that concept will be always there, was there always, and now also will be there. So how we can get out of this unless we just renounce everything?
Okay, good question. You don't have to renounce. See, that's a false narrative. Renounce everything. That means you're going to renounce Krishna also.
Yeah, I mean,
You can't renounce everything, but you accept that everything belongs to Krishna and should be used in the service of Krishna. That's the correct thing. It's not that we renounce it. That's what the Mayavadis say. Renounce everything. That's Mayavad philosophy. Renounce everything. Neti, neti, neti. Not this, not that. No, we're not neti, neti. We are devotees. So we're never going to renounce Krishna or devotional service or the association of devotees or respect for the guru, So we're not renouncing everything. We're renouncing everything that is not eternal. We're dealing with sat. We don't renounce sat. We renounce asat, what is temporary. But we don't renounce what is sat, what is eternal. And whatever is asat, we learn how to dovetail it into sat. That means that you really understand the philosophy now. You can dovetail the asat into sat. So, learning the principle of dovetailing everything material into spiritual life is uh, the expertise of the genuine devotee. You can dovetail even demons into Krishna consciousness, right? By giving them prasadam, by preaching to them, by giving them some service to do, and so forth. So we do not, like when Prabhupada came to America, there were no devotees. So he didn't say, well, there's too many demons here, I'll go back to India. No. He understood that everybody has a relationship with Krishna. Krishna is in the heart of everyone. They just have to understand that. So that's what he was preaching. He was preaching that Krishna is in your heart. Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. You can have a relationship with Krishna. Was anyone else preaching that? No. But so many other gurus went to the United States, before Prabhupada. You had these Mayavadis, so-called gurus, were in the United States, in the 1800s and then the 1900s. You had these big gurus were going to the United States and preaching, but they had some followers, but they were not really devotees. They were just following, the so-called gurus, but none of them became genuine devotees. It's only when Prabhupada came and preached, then people started becoming genuine devotees, surrendering genuinely to Krishna consciousness and following the rules and regulations. But before Prabhupada, there were other gurus that came. You know, what are their names? Let's see if I can remember some of their names now. Some of them were very popular also in the 1930s. Oh, Krishnamurti. Vivekananda, yeah, people like that. They were very popular. They had followers, but they were basically Mayavadis. And they're still around. The movement that Vivekananda started is still around. He has followers even today. But you don't hear about them anymore. Do you hear about them?
Yeah, I hear some people from Ramakrishna from
Yeah.
Mission, but I think basically the same because we can.
Yeah.
There are people who follow. Does that? There are some Swadhyay people come do something like group and study.
Yeah.
They call Swadhyay. There
Yeah,
are
they're still
people
around. You don't hear much about them though.
Yeah, not much.
They're not really, you know, like ISKCON, you know.
Like no, not like that.
No longer a movement.
It's
Yeah.
not longer movement. It was not never be a movement. The kind of Prabhupada did, I think it's kind of one of its kind, unique. Because Prabhupada the stress on spreading this movement. Right? They did this movement, they used to have some disciples, but they don't have that rigor to basically spread that. Prabhupada from first day itself, I think look like Prabhupada always insist on spreading. So every disciples also becomes like has that
Yeah.
mindset to spread. And in that their lineage, I don't think they have that notion of spreading. They just want to share that to people
Well,
who
yeah.
are interested.
Well, Vivekananda, he made devotees, Western devotees.
Yeah,
Yeah.
a lot of the Oshos, even some people were like nonsense, like Osho, and those guys also came here in US.
Yeah.
Did.
Well, even today, Satguru and others,
Yeah.
they're trying to do their thing. Does Satguru accept disciples? Hmm.
Yeah.
Does he initiate?
Well, they have their own process for initiation. Yeah.
I don't know.
Why don't you look it up?
Do you have some guru and disciple relationship there?
Because we know few people who go and join him.
But they join the organization. I don't know if like our is called like guru and disciple, so like relationship.
Well, his name is Satguru, so he's supposed to be a guru. The gurus usually initiate people.
Yes, Maharaj, they initiate, and there are some sannyasis also in the ashram.
Okay, good. That answers it. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, so we'll go to text 39. Oh, time is over. Okay. So are there any more questions?
It says anyone who has completely surrendered unto Krishna Mukunda, giving up all other duties. So, but we still continue to perform duties, right, Maharaj, as mother, as an employee.
All other duties. Duties based on bodily conception. This is my family. This is my race. This is my, bodily identification.
But as Grihastha, we still have to continue our duties for our family. We cannot just give up. But we do it in the
Only if the family is friendly. If every time you see your family and they're trying to convince you not to be Krishna conscious, then that's a different thing now. Then you avoid their association. But if they're friendly, they might not want to surrender to Krishna, but they're friendly. They accept prasadam, things like that. Then you don't ignore them, let's say. But if they're antagonistic, then you should ignore them because you're just going to get into a fight every time you go and see them, right? And every time they see you, they'll start blaspheming, Krishna and Prabhupada. So you don't want to give them an opportunity to do that. That's not good for them. Yeah.
That no longer applies to you.
No longer applies to any
giving up all
mundane.
nor is applies to
It's no longer a debtor.
not the demigods, nor the sages, nor the people in general, nor kinsmen, nor humanity, nor forefathers.
Yeah. So the way I think Maharaj, what I understand from this is true even in the case of grihasthas also. If you are too
Attached.
Attached? No, not attached. If you're too devoted to Krishna, so you are not obliged to even your family also. That's what. And the based on the example I can talk about is in Maharashtra we have Tukaram Maharaj. He was a grasta, but he was so devoted to Vitthal. He has wife, he has son, small kids, he has some kettles, uh, but he was totally devoted to Vithala, and he one day he just walked away with when the basically they called airplane came. I mean they called airplane, right? So yeah, we call. So he just walked away with all his responsibility. I mean, we can literally relate to this, right? He is not obliged. One man cannot go, okay, my wife, my kids, what will happen to them?
Well, wait a minute. His wife was always, criticizing him.
That was true, but still he has.
So when she saw that he was on the Vimana ready to go, she came running.
Yes.
But it was too late.
But he had kids also, right? Not like so he just gave up his all body I mean
All
responsibilities.
material attachments, yeah.
Material attachment and responsibility. I mean we cannot understand, maybe I can't understand, or normal people cannot understand how come somebody can just walk away. But he walked away because
No, if your
without any
family
platform.
if your family is Krishna conscious, there's no reason to walk away. But if they're always antagonistic, then your duty is to walk away. If they're not antagonistic, then you don't have to walk away.
As far as this example of Tukaram, right? Like generally in our families, the notion is that if somebody is doing bhakti, for instance, Prabhuji chanting and doing bhakti, right? So they are worried that he might leave everybody and go. So
You're going to do that?
so they have that conception of, okay, and India, especially if anybody goes to ISKCON temple, they have this conception that
Brainwash.
The college students, boys, if they go, they are worried that they will be brainwashed to become brahmacharis and they will leave. Oh, we worked so hard to make them study so far. By the time he's about
Not only that, we were hoping that they would take care of us in our old age. No.
he just wear kasha and then he went to
Yeah.
ashram.
And that's wrong. And that's actually wrong to do that. The sons and daughters have an obligation to their parents. It's not that they give up Krishna consciousness, but they cannot ignore the fact that the parents have, brought them into this world, fed them, paid for their education, everything. So they just can't walk away from that. They have to reciprocate when their parents get old.
So here, but Bharat, that I think Mata here said that same thing. But he who has completely surrendered himself in the activities of Krishna consciousness is no longer obliged to anyone. That's what Prabhupada mentioned.
Yeah.
So anyone includes, I mean, everyone except Krishna.
Well, look, Prabhupada never openly said that you should ignore your parents and family members.
Yeah.
It was only in the case where they're antagonistic. But if they're supportive, he welcomed them. And many times the parents would come and talk with Prabhupada, ask him questions and things like that. And he'd tell his disciples to always be kind to your parents.
Maybe what I understood, if you are so Krishna conscious and so surrendered, like Tukaram Maharaj or somebody like Prabhupada, who is totally surrendered, they don't have obligations towards family. But it's not recommended that you should
That's
go
not
away.
true. Prabhupada, he set aside money for his wife.
Yeah.
And his sons, the ones that were, let's say, not antagonistic to him. He had one of his sons who was always Prabhupada got him a job and different things like that. And then his wife who was not so, gung ho about being Krishna conscious, but he always made sure she was taken care of. So he didn't completely renounce her.
So I don't think he's saying that you should renounce, but what my understanding, interpretation of this is, you are not obliged to your family members, even because if you are totally immersed
Basically,
into
this is
the
a Shastric injunction.
yeah.
Means according to Shastra, you don't
You don't
have
get-
obligation, but
Correct. You are not obliged to do that, but that at the same time you should not leave them. But you are not obliged. Even if in worst case you leave them, you won't have incur any sins because you are completely 100% devoted to Krishna.
Yeah,
You won't
that's
incur
the
the sins.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean that you should leave them. You should still do your work or responsibilities and fulfill those. Yeah.
But the consciousness in which we do the duties should be, okay, they are Krishna's children, but in this lifetime they are my family. So I have a duty to take care of my parents. So I'll do that. As taking care of a devotee.
Yeah.
Right, Maharaj?
Yeah.
That is the consciousness we have to serve them or take care of them.
As long as they're not antagonistic, we have that obligation. Yes. If they're antagonistic, then we have to avoid their association. Like my mother, in the beginning, she didn't understand what I did, but then after some time, she started chanting Hare Krishna. She had beads, and she would eat prasadam, and she would associate with devotees. And my brothers also. They I had two brothers. One of them, he would come eat prasadam. He liked the association of devotees. So you're not. The point is that they're not antagonistic.
Favorable.
They're favorable.
Thank you, Maharaj.
There was this one devotee. He was a fanatic. So he told his father and mother, who were very nice people, he said to them, if you don't sell the house, sell your car, and come and live in the temple, in the ashram, like mom will stay with the brahmacharis and dad, you stay with the brahmacharis, and completely surrender to you, to Gurudev, I'm not your son anymore. He actually said that he was a crazy guy, So they said, well, we can't do that. Why are you saying this? We come to the temple, we chant on our rounds. No. You have to completely surrender to do it. Otherwise, you shouldn't come. So what happened? After a year or two, the boy blooped, and mother and father took initiation. Yeah, because he's a fanatic, he's a crazy guy. So you can't act like that. It's just not normal. I mean, your parents, they raised you and they worked hard to have a house and they're able to pay their mortgage and everything. And now you're telling them, just give everything away and you come and live in the ashram. Maybe some other parents can do that, but not all of them. But that doesn't mean they're not devotees. Okay. So this, very brutal, intolerance is not good. It's not good at all. It puts a bad mark on Krishna consciousness, especially when a son or a daughter does a thing like that. Starts talking like that. It's shocking to the parents because they spent all this time taking care of the child, educating the child, protecting the child. All of a sudden, now the child, ignores them completely because they became so-called Krishna conscious. So it's not the right thing to do. They should be more loving of their parents, not ignoring them, not threatening them. Yeah.
not understanding the real intention of Krishna consciousness, because I don't think they technically have the tag that they're a devotee, but they're not really understanding what it means to be a compassionate devotee.
Yeah. They're acting in
More
you know,
passion or ignorance.
yeah, more the passion, and they are not giving a good example of Krishna consciousness. They're teaching people to hate Krishna consciousness rather than respect it. They should see it. My son now is more loving, more caring than before. A better person now than before. Then they're happy, you know. But if they see that the boys become a fanatic, you know, they just, you know, they hate Krishna consciousness. Yeah. Okay, Haribol, Haribol, Guru Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Hare Krishna. Any other questions online or comments?
Yeah, there should always be Mata Pita Seva. Mata Pita Seva. Offering service to your mother or your father and relatives. But if they're against you, then okay, you can avoid them. But the ones that are favorable, you should deal with them with love and devotion. Yeah.